Now that you understand how higher order functions use inline callbacks, you can master JavaScript's built-in array iteration methods. The two most fundamental ones for looping through arrays are forEach and map. Let's start with forEach. We have an array that has 4 numbers here, and what we'd like to do is to generate a printout for every single voltage in the array on separate lines. While we could use a for loop for this, forEach makes it very easy to create concise code to carry out the looping and execute the code you want. forEach takes at least one argument representing the element, but you can also designate a second parameter to represent the index. So let's start with the array and then call the method forEach. And then here is where we pass in an anonymous function. So I'll have my voltage and also my index. And then the only thing I want to do for each of the voltages in the array is to log a sentence. So we'll say sensor grid node -0, and then here we're going to insert index +1 because we know that arrays are indexed based on 0. Then we can say operating at with the voltage. All right, let's run this. Okay, we see our header, and then after that, every single element in the array is represented with the index +1 and the specific voltage at that index. So the thing to keep in mind here is that forEach does not create a new array. It just carries out some sort of block of code that you want to execute for each element in the array. Let's look at another one that does create a new array. This one's called map. And this time we're going to work with an array of objects, and you'll get the opportunity to work with some data in the same way that people do every day. So if we're going to create a new array, we need to store it in a constant called restocked satellites. And we'll go to the original array, call the map method, and for every satellite, we will return a new object that is a copy of the original satellite. Plus, we want to modify one of its properties. We're going to restock the ammo count all the way back up to 100. So this new object, by being returned for every single satellite, will have the same index as the original satellite did in the original array, but it's being stored in this new array. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this comes out. Let's print the ammo count property of the third element in both arrays. Original battery to ammo. And then we'll go to the defense satellites, check the satellite, and take a look at its ammo count property. We'll do the exact same thing, except instead of defense satellites, we'll look at our new array, restocked satellites, and check those values. And we see original battery to ammo was 85, and now it's 100. So these arrays exist separately, and every single object that's in the first array has not been copied into here. We created a new object with the same properties as the original object, and then just changed one of them. So this spread operator is really handy for making that clone and making sure that it's a deep copy and not a shallow copy. Let me make my commit very quickly. And we'll take a look at the practice. You're going to have an opportunity to practice both forEach and map. And for map, you're going to be able to work on both an array of primitives and an array of objects. That's all I've got. I will see you in the next one.